Hey Denchbags, what's going on? It's Landon Remixes here, and welcome to my review of the newest album from Excision. This one is called Virus. I guess I've just got to start out by being completely straight. I get the hype around Excision's live sets. I think he's a fantastic DJ. I love his mixes, especially his Shambhala yearly mix, but I really don't get the hype around his general music. In fact, just listening to his debut X-Rated recently, I don't really get how his music took off in the first place, considering the content on that album sounded almost exactly like everything that every other dubstep label, including Monster Cat, was releasing at that time. I'll admit though, I was pretty stoked when Excision announced his 2015 sophomore album Codename X. Codename X was actually one of the very first albums I reviewed on my channel, and I regarded it as kind of an average album. I did like it though, but after hearing Virus, I probably have even less respect for Codename X than I did back when I did review it. I honestly don't know why Excision felt the need to release another album just a year after that one, considering there was a 4-year break between his freshman and sophomore albums. And I wonder that even more seeing that Virus is barely a progression from Codename X. In fact, almost all of the content on this album sounds just like Codename X. Essentially on this album, Excision is using all the same tricks he's already used before. Songs like Rave Thing on Virus sound almost identical to the title track of Codename X, with those big dubstep risers that are just like brrr, brrr, brrr. It kind of sounds like a chainsaw or something. And then of course once in a while we get the reverse version of that, the brrr, 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 and it just gets so freaking boring on this thing. I swear this album is just a redo of Codename X, and it doesn't show hardly any improvement from that album. There's about 5 more tracks on Virus than there was on Codename X, but even this space is completely undeserved. Straight and simple, this album feels like a compilation. In fact, every single Excision original that was on the 2016 mix compilation album, which I actually did buy, re-features on this album, with the exception of Virtual Riot's remix of Codename X. And on top of that, there's a load of other mixed recyclables on this album. The most noticeable being the couple tracks that were rehashed from Dion Timmer's couple EPs that he released this year. And while we're on that subject, let's talk about the collaborators. We've got the usual Datsik, Space Laces, Dion Timmer, the rapper Messinian, who's featured on countless Destroyed and Excision tracks. A big difference with Virus from Codename X is that the Frim actually doesn't make a single appearance on this one, which I was more disappointed than pleased with, because the Frim has actually had a pretty solid year, with Swipe My Swords being arguably one of my favorite dubstep tracks of this entire year. I guess it actually might be wise to talk about some of the things I actually liked with this album. In my opinion, the songs with Dion Timmer are actually among the best on the album. Most of these songs seem to be sounds that I haven't really heard Excision do too much in his career before, so that was kind of cool. In fact, I almost think you could call Dion Timmer an innovator in this wave of the dubstep scene. Besides that, I absolutely hated Float Away from the Codename X album. I thought Excision's style of melodic dubstep was just really weak, and I think it's heavily improved with this album. In fact, I'd probably call Drowning one of my favorites on this album, and I didn't really dislike With You either. I also liked both of Sam King's appearances on this album, although I think the production value on those respective tracks is not really any better than the rest of the album. I did like Excision's use of electric guitar on Death Wish though, although I wish he hadn't used the same 2 riffs over and over again during the drop of this thing. And the only other thing I really liked about this album was the intro on Generator, not really the rest of the track though. Also regarding the track Harambe, it's not really anything that special, and I just wish they'd let the meme die. If I had to give a quick summary of Virus, I'd say this is a reworked and more time-consuming version of Codename X. It really wasn't that good. At best, I would give this one a 2.5 out of 10, and I would not recommend it. But if you do want to check it out, as always, I have the Spotify link in the description. Anyway, I'm Landon Remixes. I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.